Okay, so the first post is it says hero call, big stacks colliding, and one of the important things is when you're posting for advice, you got to give as much information as you can. And one of the things that I like is I like it better when you get advice where someone just candidly reads it. Part of the thing I do with my coaching, especially in my group coaching, is I get people to bring me hands and I comment them on them just on the go. And it's the same as playing poker. To me, playing poker is figure out the situation you're in, then look at your hand, and then decide what to do. But when you figure out the situation you're in, you already know the range. You know what you're going to do based on your cards. And so you have a range in mind to do certain things. Now, sometimes you look at the situation, you'll say, I'm going to make a move here. I'm going to like 3-bet with air, and then your cards don't matter as much because you're just basically bluffing your cards so you can make those decisions. But then sometimes you do that and you look down at a huge hand, and then the situation may change, or you may do exactly the same thing because it masks what you're trying to do. But the point is that you need as much information as you can, and when you're getting advice on hands, you give all the information, and the person kind of can't take 3 days to think about it. They kind of have to give you an answer. So I haven't read this yet. I'm going to read it as we're talking to you, but high all turbo tournament, so having 30 big blinds in these is a fairly big deal. Sadly, I've just been seated at this table, and I think this was the 3rd hand. So no reads or stats on any player. Same vice versa, complete vacuum hand. So what he means by complete vacuum hand, for those that are new, is you're basically stuck in a vacuum. So just like it sounds, you're stuck in a vacuum. You don't know anything that's going on around you, and you have no information to make the decisions on, which, I mean, really is how poker used to be played. You really didn't have a lot of decisions to make on anyone. You didn't have any stats, no HUDs, no nothing. I really just wanted a line, check pre-flop, and on the flop, it's a fairly passive line I took, but what makes me want to call the overshove even more, I have to be right more often than not. I'm not, so what do you think? Fold and try and build my stack back up, or take a hero shot and call and get up to the 55-60 big blind mark. Well, the 55-60 big blind mark in a turbo is pretty significant, but so is the 30 big blind mark. So that's my first inclination, is when I'm at 30 big blinds, I don't know if I'm going to take that many chances. And again, I haven't read the hand yet, but I'm going to in a second. One of the things that in making that decision that I usually make is, am I going to be right more than half the time? If I'm going to be right more than half the time, or do I have outs? So I really don't like risking my whole stack, but if I'm going to be right more than half the time, I kind of have to risk my whole stack, unless it's like 52% of the time or 55% of the time. But if I'm going to be right like in the 65% range, and I'm going to double up, then I kind of have to call. So let's read the hand. You can see the hero. He tells exactly how many big blinds you have. It's one of the most important things to know, especially in a turbo. The position of the hero, the position of the villain, and how many big blinds you have. So you can see we have almost the exact same stack, 170K and 172K. And you can see we have pocket nines, UTG1, UTG2 raises to 18,000, 6 folds, and then hero calls. So one of the most important things is, how is the pre-flop play? So those are the decisions I like to make. I don't know about calling here. I think we're kind of, 1, we're out of position. 2, it's going to be really tough to play this post-flop because we're going to see all kinds of hands that we might beat, whatever. And then basically, so that's one thing. Folding is really weak too, and I think this is just one of these spots where we don't have any reads, so we don't know what the guy's doing. But at 28 big blinds with all those small stacks at the table, it's a pretty good chance this guy doesn't want to bust. So if you jam here, you're getting called by like the 3 pairs or 4 pairs that are above yours, and you're getting called by probably ace-king and maybe ace-queen. Probably ace-queen. So that's basically it. Basically my decision, I think pre-flop is probably going to be shove, is to shove. There's also it's a 3x, so you got a lot more dead money in the pot. You got like 5 big blinds you can steal. But calling isn't terrible either. I mean, folding would be, I think, terrible. Calling's not bad. I think calling would be my second choice, but I don't mind the call. It's just going to, again, be tough to play post-flop. So you can see we get a not bad flop for nines, but I think one of the things you have to keep in mind in here is, unless the guy is completely terrible, which we don't know if he is or not, he's probably always going to bet the flop if you raise pre. So you really don't know where you are on the flop, except that there's only one overcard. The chances of him hitting that overcard are not that good. So at this point, the hands that beat you, his value range is all over pairs, ace-jack, king-jack possibly, and stuff like fives, like really gross things like sets.